Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 646, I Think to Live May Be a Bliss. Now, another one of these speculative poems, I think. In other words, the question here is, what would a life with thee, is the word she uses, be like? Now, who is this thee? Is this a lover? Is this a deity, as in God or Christ? Are we talking about the master, as in possibly Wadsworth or Sam Bowles or somebody else? Is it possibly Sue? Again, speculative. The poem, however, can be read as well as almost like a manifesto on the choice to live one's life with bliss. So I'm going to enjoy that part of the study with you guys as well. Now, our assumptions you've been following are stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hoping you work through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 645 poems. We just finished with 645, Bereavement in Their Death. Now, if you have done that study with us, you will hear echoes in this poem of things we've already worked with, and obviously some that we will reference to come. One scholar has called this poem a crisis as her life's transforming event. And I think it's fair to say that Emily went through several of these in her life, and then she speculated on what she thinks about the life she could live. She says it this way: I think to live may be a bliss to those who dare to try, beyond my limit to conceive, my lip to testify. I think the heart I former wore could widen, till to me the other, like the little bank, appear into the sea. I think the days could every one in ordination stand, and majesty be easier than an inferior kind. No numb alarm lest difference come, no goblin on the bloom, no start in apprehension's ear, no bankruptcy, no doom, but certainties of sun, midsummer in the mind, a steadfast south upon the soul, her polar time behind. The vision, pondered long, so plausible becomes that I esteem the fiction real, the real fictitious seems. How bountiful the dream, what plenty it would be, had all my life had but been mistake, just rectified in thee. Now, the thee of the poem is, of course, the fascinating question. And, I mean, is she speaking to a human? Is she speaking to deity? Is she speaking directly to you? Is she talking about the way in which she could have lived her life with bliss if only she had devoted more of it to poetry? I mean, the thee of this poem is the thee of the poem, right? If you get my drift. Notice 3 times, though, she'll say it. I think to live, notice capitalized, may be a bliss. In other words, is speculative. Bliss is in 39 of her poems, and the idea of bliss or happiness is when Emily's now speculating on what would it be like to those, notice it's not to me, who dare to try. This idea of daring appears in 35 of her poems. I can't read this and not think of, for example, Tintern Abbey, Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey, so I dare to hope, though change no doubt from what I was when first I came among the hills. Or Proof Rock, T.S. Eliot's Proof Rock, do I dare disturb the universe? Notice, the willingness, the daringness to try to actually live one's life would be a bliss beyond my limit to conceive. This idea of beyond the limit to conceive will take us to our study of 1176. When we get there, a very brief poem, and yet one of her more famous. We never know how high we are till we are asked to rise. And then, if we are true to plan, our statures touch the skies. The heroism we recite would be a normal thing did not ourselves the cubits war for fear to be a king. And it almost seems as if here in this poem, do I dare to be a king is one way to think of it. Putting it together with 1176. By the way, a variant note on this who dare was actually allowed, and then she stuck with who dared. And then she says, secondly, I think the heart I former wore. By the way, can we just point out that the legal language and the business language of testifying and then bank and then bankruptcy, all a part of this poem. I think the heart, notice capitalized, I former wore, could widen till to me the other like the little bank appear unto the sea. The way in which the bank of the river can widen or narrow. She says, I think I could have lived, or I could live, a more expansive life, if only, and then we're back to the thee again, right? I think the days, notice again capitalized, could everyone in ordination stand, and majesty be easier than an inferior kind. In other words, I know I could live a more regal life, a more ordered life, ordination. And then she lists 5 of them, the things without, to live without. And some of you will read this and think of John Lennon's famous song, Imagine. No numb alarm, lest difference come. No goblin on the bloom. You'll remember this, the B from 4:1-4. No start in apprehension's ear. Some have pointed out that this maybe is a borrowing from her study of Shakespeare's Macbeth. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. You guys will remember when the witches first appear to Macbeth in 1:3, that they will name him the Thane of Glamis, the Thane of Cawdor, and he that shall be king hereafter. And what is it that his best friend Banquo says to him? Good sir, why do you start and seem to fear things that are so fair? Start meaning kind of to jump, right? No start, no fear in apprehension's ear. In other words, I could have lived possibly, maybe I will live, she says, with no fear, no bankruptcy, no doom. In other words, all the terrible pain that she's often writing about. But as opposed to that, she says, if I were to live and dare to try, I would have certainties of sun, midsummer in the mind, a steadfast south upon the soul. You'll remember this word soul from so many of her previous poems. 67 poems, 141 times she references soul in her poetry. Her polar time behind. In other words, I could live looking forward to the sunshine. And then she calls it a vision, and then later a dream. The vision, pondered long, back to I think. So plausible, I begin to think about the potentialities, becomes that I esteem, consider, think, the fiction real, the real fictitious seems. It seems to me that in some profound way, this is what all great poets and artists try to do. They try to esteem the fiction as real, and the real as somehow fictitious seems. I can't help but think about Paradise Lost. Emily knew the poem well. And you'll remember book 9, line 631. We've given full lectures of Paradise Lost at learnstrong.net. Do you remember this? As Satan is moving in the form of the serpent, that the serpent make intrinsic seem straight. It seems to me that we're playing a similar game here with this seem or esteem. How bountiful the dream. We go from bankruptcy to bountiful. The dream. What plenty it would be. And then she comes back to speculative. Had all my life but been mistake, just rectified in thee. Of course, with life, we're back to the live of the first line. Again, the thee of the poem is the question of all questions. She's speaking about theater or about a human being. We do, I think, have the ability, though, to connect to a message of the perfect or the ideal relationship is worth dreaming or considering, pondering, right? At 2b, one scholar has called this poem, quote, the substantial, majestic sweep of the language, end quote. And it's a fun poem to read. I'll challenge you guys to read it on your own out loud. It is a fun poem to read. At 3a, we're going to come back to this poem when we hit poem 839. And that one reads like this. Always mine, no more vacation. Term of light this day begun. Failless as the fair rotation of the seasons in the sun. Old the grace, but new the subjects. Old indeed the east. Yet upon his purple program, every dawn is best. Finally, to own a poem like this at 3b, what was a time when you dreamed about a great relationship? Do you have a thee in your life? Thank you.